The Constitution mandates that every 10 years we count all the people living in the United States, all the people in the U.S., including the non-citizens. That count is called the census. And this year, 2020, in addition to being a make or break election year, is a census year. And it is extremely important that we get an accurate count, because the census is used to reapportion seats in the House, to redraw congressional state and local districts, and to determine how much money states and local communities get from the federal government. There is a lot at stake. Just last year, the Trump administration tried to manipulate the count by adding a citizenship question to the census form. That question would have reduced responses from immigrants and non-citizens who tend to be clustered in Democratic-leaning areas. But then the U.S. Supreme Court blocked it, keeping it off the census form. But that defeat has not stopped Republicans from trying to manipulate the count. The Republican National Committee has been mailing out documents across the country that are labeled 2020 Congressional District Census. They come in envelopes labeled "Do Not Destroy," official document. And as the LA Times notes, they include a lengthy questionnaire on blue tinted paper similar to the type used by the real census. The point is to confuse people and lower response rates on the real census. Last week, Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter pressed the Census Bureau director about what he was doing to fix the problem.
Have you asked the RNC to cease and desist from using the term 2020 census or official census in its mailings?
Congresswoman, I would have to look and see. I'm not sure who sent that out.
This mailing has already gone out. So the time to stop it was actually before it happened and when the first reports came into your office. We know Californians have called the RNC. Someone's parent got this, an elderly parent. The adult child called the RNC, asked them to stop sending these things to their parent, and the RNC, which I realize you're not responsible for, but the RNC told them, quote, "This was an order by Donald Trump to send out to people and they must comply with us."
It was ordered by the president, he said. Now listen, if you get this letter, do not be fooled. We need to make sure everyone is counted.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.